I kept my badge secret from Nikita's family. When I stepped inside, the truth followed me in. The sea has always been my home. Since I was little, I grew up listening to my father's stories about his adventures in the Navy. He would return home with that distinctive smell of salt and distance, bringing with him memories of places I could only imagine. When I turned 18, I didn't hesitate. I followed in his footsteps and enlisted, pledging to serve my country with the same devotion he demonstrated in his stories. Today, at 28, I am Lieutenant Elizabeth Lizzie Dawson, an officer in the United States Navy, a naval intelligence specialist trained to obtain crucial information and analyze patterns others miss. My work is unusual, and explaining it to civilians has always been a challenge. It's easier to say I work in logistics or data analysis and leave it at that. Most people don't ask too many questions, and I prefer it that way. It was during a deployment to San Diego 6 months ago that I met Nikita Volkov. He was working as a chef at a restaurant near the naval base. Our eyes met as I waited for my takeout order after a long day of work. There was something about him, maybe the way his gray-blue eyes reflected, the sunset light streaming through the restaurant windows, or the small smile he gave me when he noticed me watching him. Something immediately drew me in. "First time here?" he asked, with a slight accent I couldn't immediately place. "Yes," I replied. "I just transferred to the region." "Welcome, then. I recommend the borscht. It's the house specialty." "Borscht? Isn't that a Russian soup?" He smiled. "Ukrainian, originally. But yes, very popular in Russia, too. It's my grandmother's recipe. I guarantee you'll like it." I accepted his recommendation, more interested in him than the soup, to be honest. When I returned the next day to thank him for the suggestion, the soup was truly delicious. We ended up chatting for almost an hour. After his shift ended, he told me about his family, who had immigrated from the outskirts of St. Petersburg, was just 12. He spoke of his dream of opening his own restaurant one day, combining Russian culinary traditions with American influence. What did I tell him about myself? Half-truths. I told him I worked for the government, in an administrative department. I mentioned that I moved frequently for work. I said I loved the sea, but omitted that I often sailed it in service to my country. I omitted that part of my training involved identifying foreign agents and potential threats to national. I omitted that Russian was one of the languages I learned during my training, and that I understood perfectly when he murmured Kresavaya, beautiful, thinking I wouldn't. Our relationship evolved quickly. Within 2 weeks, we were seeing each other regularly. Within a month, I was sleeping at his apartment more than my own. He captivated me with his passion for cooking, his calm problem-solving skills, and the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his homeland. It was when he invited me to meet his family that the complications began. "My mom's birthday is next weekend," he said, as we prepared dinner together in his kitchen. "The whole family is getting together at his house in Sacramento. I'd love for you to come with me." I hesitated. Meeting the family was an important step, and our relationship, though intense, was still young. But there was another reason for my hesitation. The closer I got to his family, the harder it would be to keep my true identity a secret. And something inside me, perhaps training, perhaps intuition, told me there was more to the Volkov family than Nikita was telling me. "Sure," I finally replied, ignoring the slight knot in my stomach. "I'd love to meet them." That night, as Nikita slept beside me, I logged on to my secure laptop and did what I'd avoided doing until then, a thorough background check on the Volkov family. It went against my own personal rules, mixing work and private life, but something told me it was necessary. What I found wasn't exactly alarming, but it raised some questions. Mikhail Volkov, Nikita's father, had worked for a technology company with contracts from the Russian government before immigrating to the United States. His departure from Russia coincided with a period of diplomatic tension between the two countries. None of this meant he was a spy or had malicious intentions, but it was enough to set off alarm bells in my professional mind. Additionally, I discovered that Nikita's older brother, Alexei, worked for a cybersecurity that had been mentioned in some intelligence reports as a possible front for hacking operations. Again, circumstantial evidence, nothing concrete, but enough to make me uneasy. I closed my laptop and looked at Nikita, sleeping peacefully. Was it possible he knew nothing about his family's possible connections? Or was he using me for information? Had our meeting truly been a coincidence? I spent the next week split between preparing for the meeting with Nikita's family and discreetly discussing the situation with my supervisor, Commander Richards. I didn't mention my personal involvement. I simply said that I had found some information about the Volkov family that warranted attention. Interesting, he commented, reviewing the documents I presented. It's not enough to open a formal investigation, but keep your eyes open. If you get any more information, let me know immediately. On Friday, we left for Sacramento. Nikita drove while I stared out the window, watching the California landscape whiz by. My mind, however, was elsewhere, working out scenarios and strategies. You're so quiet, Nikita commented, placing her hand on my lap. Are you nervous about meeting my family? A little, I admitted, forcing a smile. I want to make a good impression. Don't worry, they'll love you. Especially my mom. She's looking forward to meeting the woman who finally got me out of the kitchen for a few hours. I laughed, but the sound sounded forced even to me. I discreetly touched the small gun I carried in my purse's safety habit I've never abandoned, even in seemingly harmless situations. I also carried my badge and official identification hidden in a secret compartment in the same. I didn't think I'd need them, but years of training had taught me to always. The Volkov's house was an impressive building on the outskirts of Sacramento, far too large for just 2 people, as Nikita's parents were the only ones living there. The property had a large, well-kept garden and a high fence that completely surrounded it. I discreetly noticed the strategically placed security case and a satellite dish larger than would be necessary for ordinary household use. Wow, I commented as Nikita parked the car. Your parents are doing well. Dad always worked hard, Nikita replied with evident pride. He managed to transfer much of his business from Russia here when we moved, and he invested well in American real estate. Before we could get out of the car, the front door opened, and a middle-aged woman with dark hair and the same smile as Nikita appeared. Irina Volkov, his mother, came toward us with open arms, speaking quickly in Russian before correcting herself and switching to English. Nikitushka, you're here, and you brought your beautiful girlfriend. I was enveloped in a tight hug that smelled of expensive perfume and that distinctive aroma of home-cooked that seemed to follow all the Volkov. I returned the gesture, noticing out of the corner of my eye that Nikita's father, Mikhail, was watching from the doorway, his expression more reserved. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Elizabeth, Irina said, taking my hands and looking me up and down approvingly. Nikita talks a lot about you. The pleasure is mine, Mrs. Volkov. And happy birthday. Oh, thank you. Dear. And please call me Irina. Mrs. Volkov makes me feel old, and I'm old enough not to need reminders. She laughed and led me into the house, with Nikita following, carrying our bags. The interior was as impressive as the exterior furniture that looked like European antiques. Artwork I suspected was original, and a grand staircase leading to the second floor. Once again, I noticed details that piqued my professional sense. The robust locks, the discreetly placed security, what appeared to be a biometric scanner disguised as a decorative feature near the back door. Mikhail Volkov approached and shook my hand firmly. He was a tall, imposing man with graying hair and piercing eyes that seemed to analyze everything around him. Welcome to our home, Elizabeth, he said with a thick Russian accent. Nikita told us you work for the government. In which department, exactly? The question came too quickly, too directly, to be just casual curiosity. I could tell Nikita looked slightly uncomfortable with his father's direct approach. Dad, she just arrived, he interjected. Shall we leave the interrogations until after dinner at least? Mikhail smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Sure. Just trying to get to know my son's girlfriend better. Come, Elizabeth, let me show you where you and Nikita will be staying. As we climbed the stairs, a chill ran down my spine. There was something about the way Mikhail said interrogation that felt loaded with meaning. Or maybe it was just my professional paranoia kicking in again. Our room was spacious and elegant, with a large king-size bed and windows overlooking the backyard. I noticed that from that vantage point, I could see much of the neighborhood. The bathroom is over there. Mikhail indicated a door. Feel free to rest a bit before dinner. The rest of the family will be arriving in a few hours. When we were finally alone, Nikita hugged me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. See? It wasn't so bad. Your father is intense. He chuckled softly. Yes, he can be intimidating at first, but that's just the way he is. In Russia, he was an important, respected man. Here, he had to rebuild everything from scratch. I think that made him harder, more suspicious. I turned to face him, looking for any sign that he knew more than he was saying, but his eyes were clear and honest as ever. What did you tell them about me? Just the basic, that you're amazing, smart, and that you work for the government in something administrative that sounds terribly boring when you describe it, but which I suspect is more interesting than you let on. He smiled, gently touching my face. Don't worry. I didn't tell you that you talk in your sleep or that you hate cilantro with an irrational passion. I tried to smile, but my mind was calculating. What else did Nikita suspect about me? And how much did her family already know or would try to find out this weekend? I took a quick shower and changed, opting for a casual dress that hit the ankle holster I decided to wear just in case. I left my purse with my badge and official identification carefully stowed in my suitcase under some clothes. When we went downstairs, more family members had arrived. Nikita's older brother, Alexei, was talking to Mikhail in a corner of the room, but he stopped talking when he saw us. Alexei was different from Nikita, taller, stockier, with a more serious and calculating expression, while Nikita had inherited his mother's softer features. Alexei was the spitting image of his father. So you're the famous Elizabeth, he said, stepping forward to shake my hand. His grip was firm, almost too strong. Nikita won't stop talking about you. I hope they're good things, I replied, keeping my smile and returning the handshake with equal firmness. Oh, just wonderful. You work for the government, don't you? In what field again? That question again, phrased as if it were casual, but loaded with underlying interest. Human resource management, I replied with a prepared lie. Nothing too exciting. Mostly paperwork and spreadsheets. Curious, Alexei commented. So you don't look like someone who spends all day dealing with paperwork. You look more like someone accustomed to action. Before I could respond, Irina called us into the dining room. The table was magnificently set, with an impressive array of traditional Russian dishes and a few American touches. During dinner, I realized I was being subtly observed. Mikhail asked seemingly innocent questions about my work, my family, my past. Alexei occasionally threw in comments about international politics or US-Russia relations, clearly trying to gauge my reaction. What do you think of the United States' current stance on the South China Sea? Alexei asked, pouring more wine into his glass. Do you think we're being too aggressive or not aggressive enough? International politics isn't my specialty, I replied carefully, but I believe balance and diplomacy are always the best course. Diplomacy? Mikhail repeated with a slight smile. Yes, America has always been known for its diplomacy, hasn't it? There was a sarcastic tone in his voice that didn't go unnoticed. Nikita looked uncomfortable, changing the subject to something lighter. After dinner, when we were all in the living room, Irina insisted that Nikita play the piano for us, a skill I hadn't known he possessed. As he beautifully played a Tchaikovsky piece, I took the opportunity to observe the family dynamic more closely. That's when I noticed something strange. On the wall behind Mikhail, partially hidden by a bookshelf, was what appeared to be a detailed map of the American West Coast, with specific markings on several naval bases, including San Diego. I tried to sneak up to get a better look, but Alexei appeared beside me, offering me a glass of cognac. Do you like classical music, Elizabeth? Yes, very, I replied, turning my attention away from the map. Nikita never mentioned that he played so well. My brother has always been modest about his talent. Unlike me, I like to show off mine. There was something in the way he said it that sounded like a veiled warning. Our eyes met for a moment, and I had the distinct impression we were playing a game of chess, testing each other's moves. Later that evening, when Nikita and I were about to go upstairs to our room, Mikhail asked me to accompany him to his office. Just for a moment, he said. I have something that might interest you. Nikita looked hesitant. Daddy, it's late. ... double quotes. I won't steal it for long, son. I promise to return it in one piece. I followed Mikhail to a richly decorated office at the end of the hallway. The walls were covered with books and photographs, some showing Mikhail with what appeared to be Russian military officials, others with politicians I recognized from my intelligence briefings. It closed the door behind us and gestured to a chair. "Please sit down. Cognac?" "No, thank you," I refused, remaining alert. Mikhail poured himself a generous helping and sat behind his mahogany desk. For a long moment he simply watched me, as if trying to solve a puzzle. "You know, Elizabeth, I value family very much. Nikita is my youngest son, my sensitive boy. I've always had a special protective instinct for him. He speaks very highly of you." "Really?" Mikhail smiled. "That's good to hear. Sometimes I think he's distanced himself from his roots, from who we really are." He paused, taking a sip of his brandy, "which makes me wonder, who are you really, Elizabeth Dawson? Because I highly doubt you're just a government clerk." My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. "I don't know what you mean." He chuckled softly. "Of course you do. Your bearing, your posture, the way your eyes constantly assess your surroundings, including exits and potential threats, the way you avoid certain questions with vague but convincing answers." He leaned forward. "I know trained people when I see them, Elizabeth. I served in the Soviet Army for 15 years before joining the private sector. The question is, who do you really work for? The CIA? The FBI? Or maybe ... naval intelligence?" I felt my stomach sink. Was he playing me, or did he really know? "Mr. Volkov, I think you're imagining things. I am exactly who I say I am. So you don't mind if I do some more background checks on you?" He pulled out a phone. "I have some friends who still maintain interesting contacts, both here and in Russia." My mind raced, weighing options. If he really had the connections he hinted at, he might discover my true identity. This would not only compromise my relationship with Nikita, but potentially jeopardize ongoing operations. "What exactly are you insinuating, Mr. Volkov? That I'm some kind of spy? That's ridiculous." "Really?" He opened a drawer and took out a folder, placing it on the table. "Do you know what these are?" "They're reports on American military ship movements in the Pacific. Public information, of course, but when compiled in a certain way, they reveal interesting patterns." He opened the folder, revealing maps and documents that seemed too detailed to be obtained from open sources. Now, why would I be interested in this, you might ask? I didn't answer, but my hand instinctively moved closer to the holster on my ankle. "Relax, Lieutenant Dawson. I'm just guessing your rank. I'm not here to threaten you." He closed the folder. "I'm just curious about what brought you to my son. Was it a coincidence? Or was he chosen as a way to get to me or Alexei?" "I met Nikita by chance," I replied. "Any other assumption is just paranoia on your part." Stood and walked to a window, looking out at the night. "Let me tell you a story, Elizabeth. When I left Russia, it wasn't exactly by choice. I knew too much. I saw too much. Some powerful people wanted to silence. I managed to leave with my family and part of my fortune intact, but I had to make ... arrangements." He turned to me. "These arrangements included sharing certain information with certain individuals here in the United States. Information that would allow me to start a new life, protect my family. I'm not a traitor to Russia, nor an American spy. I'm just a man protecting what's his." "And the map of the naval bases?" He smiled. "Observer. That's part of my current job. Security consulting for companies that do business with the American government. Perfectly legal, I assure you." I don't know if I believed him, but his frankness took me by surprise. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to understand something fundamental. I am not your enemy. And, regardless of who you really are, if you hurt my son, if you are using him as part of some operation, I will have to take action." His tone was calm, but the threat was clear. "I'm not using Nikita," I replied, surprised by the sincerity in my own voice. "My feelings for him are real." "Good," Mikhail nodded. "Then we have an understanding. You keep your secrets, I keep mine, and we both protect Nikita he doesn't know about." "Your activities?" "Nikita has always been the innocent one in the family. Alexei understands our world, but Nikita, he only sees the best in people, including his father." He stepped closer, extending his hand. "Truce then?" I hesitated for a moment before shaking his truce, but I want to make something clear. If it turns out that your activities pose a real threat to national security, my duty comes first." Mikhail smiled. I wouldn't expect anything less from a dedicated American officer. Now go, Nikita must be worried. I left the office feeling disoriented. The conversation had been surreal. Mikhail essentially admitted to having shady, possibly illegal connections, while simultaneously seeming to offer me a non-aggression pact. Most disturbingly, he somehow seemed to know, or at least strongly suspect, my true identity. When I returned to the room, Nikita was sitting on the edge of the bed, visibly tense. Is everything okay? What did my father want? Nothing much, I lied. Just getting to know his son's girlfriend better. Asking about my intentions, that sort of thing. Nikita looked relieved, but not entirely convinced. My father can be protective sometimes. I hope he wasn't too intimidating. Nothing I can't handle, I replied, sitting down beside her. Nikita, ... Has your father ever told you anything about his job? What he actually does? He frowned. Strategic consulting, mostly. Why? Just curious. He has a lot of interesting photos in his office. Important people. Oh yes. In Russia, he had high-level connection. I think he misses that influence. Nikita shrugged. Honestly, I've never been very interested in the family business. Alexei has always been the one who's been more involved. That night, I struggled to fall asleep. As Nikita breathed peacefully beside me, my mind raced, analyzing every detail of the day, every interaction, every word exchange. It was clear there was more to the Volkov family than met the eye. The question was, how much of it posed a real threat? And the hardest question, what would I do if I found out that it was? The next day began early with preparations for Irina's birthday party. The house soon filled with family friends, most of them Russian immigrants like the Volkovs. I discreetly observed the interaction, trying to identify who might be involved in the activities Mikhail mentioned. One man in particular caught my attention, Viktor Petrov, a middle-aged man who seemed particularly close to Alexei. The two chatted in secluded corners, their serious expressions quickly turning to smiles when approached. I tried to position myself so I could hear their conversations, but they constantly switched between English and Russian, often mid-sentence, as if purposefully making it difficult for outside listeners to understand. During the festive lunch, I sat strategically close to them, pretending to be completely absorbed in conversation with Nikita's aunt. Double quotes, ... The shipment arrives on Tuesday, I heard Alexei say in Russian. We need to make sure the documentation is impeccable this time. What about the problem in San Diego? Victor replied, also in Russian. Has it been resolved? Partially. We still need access to ... Alexei noticed my look and immediately switched to English. ... So, I told him that investing in coastal real estate would be more profitable in the long run. Don't you think, Elizabeth? Excuse me? I replied, feigning confusion. Coastal real estate. A good investment, don't you agree? Oh yes, certainly. Especially in developing areas, Alexei smiled, but his eyes remained cold and calculating. Exactly what we were discussing. Do you understand investments? Just the basics, I replied, but I'm interested in learning more. Maybe we can talk about this later, he suggested. I have some ... interesting projects I could show you. His tone made me uncomfortable. Was it an invitation or a trap? Before I could respond, Nikita appeared beside me, putting his arm around my waist. I hope my brother isn't trying to recruit you into his business scheme, he joked, but there was a slight tension in his voice. Just talking, Alexei replied, exchanging a meaningful look with Victor before they both walked away. Your brother and Mr. Petrov seem close, I commented casually as Nikita led me into the garden. Victor is practically family. He's known my father for decades, since his time in Russia. He's even Alexei's godfather. Does he work with his father and brother? Nikita hesitated. Briefly, yes, on some projects. But let's talk about more interesting things, like how beautiful you look today and how happy I am to have you here with me. I smiled and let the matter drop, but my professional instincts were on high alert. There was something going on in that house, something potentially dangerous, and I needed to find out what it was. I took advantage of a moment during the afternoon when Nikita was helping his mother with the cake to discreetly go upstairs to his room, claiming to need to use the bathroom. Once there, I quickly accessed my secure phone and sent a coded message to Commander Richards, requesting information on Viktor Petrov and any known operations involving the Volkovs. I was putting away my phone when I heard a soft creak at the door. I turned quickly to see Alexei standing in the doorway, watching me with interest. "Sorry," he said, not sounding really sorry. "I was looking for Nikita. He's downstairs with his mother." "Of course." Alexei made no move to leave. "You know, Elizabeth, I've been thinking about you a lot since yesterday." "Really?" I kept my voice casual, but my senses were alert. "Yes, there's something about you that doesn't fit. Nikita's perfect girlfriend, appearing out of nowhere, so interested in our family." He took a step into the room. "I spoke to my father last night after your little chat. He seems to think you pose no threat. Not so convinced." "I don't know what you're talking about." I moved subtly, positioning myself so that I would have quick access to my weapon if needed. "Let's be honest with each other," Alexei proposed, closing the door behind him. "You're not who you say you are. The question is, who's behind you? FBI? CIA? Or maybe ... naval intelligence?" He smiled as he saw my expression change slightly. "Ah, am I right? Interesting. Makes sense considering our recent interests." "Your interests? And what would they be exactly?" "You're too smart to play this game, Elizabeth. Or should I call you Lieutenant Dawson?" Yes, we did our own research. It wasn't hard to connect the dots once we started looking in the right place. My blood ran cold. If they knew my rank, they probably knew a lot more. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. "What do you want, Alexei?" "What do I want?" "To ensure our business continues without interference. My father may be willing to believe your romantic intentions with Nikita, but I'm more pragmatic. You're a threat, and threats need to be ... neutralized." The threat was clear now. I quickly assessed my options. I could try to subdue him physically, but that would create an incident impossible to explain to Nikita. I could try to bluff him, but he seemed to already know too much. "Do you really think doing something against me would be smart? My superiors know exactly where I am." "Oh, I highly doubt you've officially reported investigating your boyfriend's family. That would be a pretty serious conflict of interest, wouldn't it?" He smiled mischievously. "But don't worry, I'm not planning anything as dramatic as you imagine. I just want you to understand my position. You will end your relationship with my brother and completely distance yourself from our family. In exchange, we guarantee your safety and keep this little discovery between us." "What if I refuse?" "So we'll have to get creative. Maybe some information about an American officer selling naval secrets to the Russians will fall into the right hand." Imagine the scandal. Her career would be over. At the very least, it was an elaborate threat, but not impossible to carry out, especially if they had the contacts they claimed to have. "You don't understand, Alexei. I really love your brother. What's between us is real." He laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "Love? Please. People like us, like you and me, don't have the luxury of love, Elizabeth. We have duties, loyalties, goals. Love is for people like Nikita, innocents who don't understand how the world really works." Before I could respond, we heard footsteps in the hallway and Nikita's voice calling my name. Alexei quickly shifted his posture, relaxing and opening the door. "Ah, here you are, brother. I was just getting to know your Elizabeth better. She is truly fascinating." Nikita walked in, looking between us with a slightly worried expression. "Is everything okay?" "Perfectly," Alexei replied, heading for the door. "I'll see you downstairs. Don't take too long. Mom's about to cut the cake." He left, but not without giving me one last meaningful look. "What were you guys talking about?" Nikita asked as soon as Alexei left. "Nothing important," I lied, hating myself for it. "Just questions about my work, my family." Nikita looked uncomfortable. "Lizzie, is there something you'd like to tell me? I've noticed you've been tense since we arrived, and now I find you alone with Alexei, both of you looking as if you're in some kind of confrontation." It was the perfect moment to tell the truth, to explain everything, who I really was, the suspicions about her family, Alexei's threat. But looking into those sincere, trusting eyes, I couldn't. Telling the truth would mean losing Nikita, and despite all my training and discipline, I realized I wasn't ready for that. "It's okay," I assured him, hugging him. "Just nervous about meeting your whole family at once, and your brother is a little ... intense." Nikita laughed. "Yes, he's always been like that. Alexei takes everything very seriously, especially family business. Don't let him intimidate you. If he only knew." We went down together to join the celebration, but my mind was elsewhere. making plans, assessing risks. For the rest of the afternoon and early evening, I kept a close eye on Alexei and Victor, observing their interactions and trying to capture snippets of their conversations. It was while most of the guests were in the garden, admiring the fireworks Mikhail had arranged for his wife, that I saw my chance. Alexei and Victor had retreated to Mikhail's office, and the door was ajar. I approached silently, positioning myself so I could listen without being seen. Double quotes, ... The device will be ready in 3 days, Victor was saying. But we still need the access codes for the restricted area. That won't be a problem, Alexei replied confidently. Our source at the base assured us that we'll have everything we need in time. What about security? The last attempt was almost a disaster. This time will be different. The plan is perfect. Once inside, we will have full access to the navigation system. Imagine the impact when one of the most advanced destroyers in the U.S. Navy simply deviates from its planned course. My heart raced. Were they planning some kind of sabotage or hijacking of a warship? This went far beyond espionage or information smuggling. It was an act of war. And your father? Victor asked. Does he approve of this? There was a pause before Alexei answered. My father is ... cautious. He prefers more subtle methods. But he'll understand when we see the results. Besides, he's distracted by this situation between Nikita and the American. Do you think she knows something? It doesn't matter. She won't be a problem for long. I have plans to deal with Lieutenant Dawson on a permanent basis. It took all my self-control not to react audibly. Alexei wasn't just threatening me, he was planning to eliminate me. And at the same time, he was involved in an operation that could cost American lives and potentially ignite an international conflict. I walked away silently, my mind racing with the implications. I needed to act and fast. But how could I do this without putting Nikita in danger or revealing my identity? And more importantly, how could I stop what Alexei was planning? I walked back to the garden, trying to maintain a calm appearance as I processed what I just heard. Nikita found me in the crowd and took my hand. Is everything okay? You look pale. Just a little headache, I lied. I think I'll go upstairs for some painkillers. Do you want me to go with you? No. Stay and enjoy the party. I'll be back in a minute. I quickly went upstairs to our room, locking the door behind me. With slightly trembling hands, I grabbed my secure phone and tried to contact Commander Richards, but there was no signal. I tried again, with the same result. Checking the device, I realized there was some kind of interference blocking the signal, possibly a frequency jammer installed in the house. This meant I was alone, with no possibility of immediate reinforcement. I had to make a decision. Confront Alexei directly, try to get more information, or find a way off the property and contact my superior. The decision was made for me when I heard footsteps in the hallway and the bedroom door open. It was Mikhail, his face an impenetrable mask. Elizabeth, he said calmly, we need to talk, now. What is your son planning? I replied, deciding to drop any pretense or how he intends to deal with me permanently. Mikhail closed the door behind him, his gaze assessing me carefully. So, I know enough to understand that your son is involved in something far beyond simple espionage or information trafficking. He is planning an attack on a U.S. Navy ship. This is an act of war, Mr. Volkov? It's not that simple, Mikhail said, his voice low. Alexei has ambitions that go beyond what I approve, and connections I don't completely control. I don't care who's pulling the strings, I'm going to stop them. How? Mikhail questioned. We're in my home, surrounded by people loyal to me and my family. Your phone doesn't work here, we guarantee that. And even if you manage to get out, what would you tell your superiors? That you uncovered a conspiracy while secretly investigating your boyfriend's family, without concrete evidence? He was right. And it infuriated me. What do you want from me? Then? Why are you telling me this? Mikhail sighed, suddenly sounding older and weary. Because, unlike my son, I still have limits. And because I believe you truly love Nikita. He leaned closer, lowering his voice even further. Alexei has gone too far this time. What he's planning could have consequences that will affect all of us, including Nikita. I can't allow that. Then help me stop him, I proposed, still suspicious. That's exactly what I intend to do. Mikhail pulled a small USB flash drive from his pocket. Here are all the details of Alexei's planned dates, names, location. everything you'll need to stop him. I looked at the device skeptically. Why would you do that? You're betraying your own son. I'm protecting my family. Mikhail. Alexei is out of control, working with dangerous people who don't care about the consequences. If he succeeds, it will only be a matter of time before American authorities connect us to the attack. And then, we will all pay, the price including Nikita. Slowly, I reached out and picked up the USB device. That still doesn't explain why you're helping me, because you're the only one who can stop this without completely destroying our family. As an intelligence officer, you can ensure that only the true culprits are punished. And what happens next? What do I say to Nikita? Mikhail looked at me with an expression that mixed sadness and resignation. That's something you'll have to decide for yourself. But if you truly love him, perhaps the truth is the only option. A scream from downstairs interrupted our conversation. It was Irina's voice, desperately calling for Mikhail. Something was wrong. We both rushed downstairs to find a chaotic scene. Viktor Petrov lay on the living room floor, clutching his chest, while Irina tried to help him. He appeared to be having a heart attack. Guests crowded around him, some trying to help, others just watching in shock. Call an ambulance, someone shouted. Amidst the confusion, I noticed something crucial. Alexei wasn't there, and neither was Nikita. Where's Nikita? I asked Mikhail, a knot of fear forming in my stomach. Before he could respond, I noticed movement in the garden. Through the open French doors, I saw Alexei practically dragging Nikita toward a car parked at the side entrance. Without hesitation, I ran toward him, ignoring Mikhail's calls behind me. By the time I reached the garden, Alexei had already pushed Nikita into the vehicle and was walking around to the driver's side. Stop! I yelled, pulling my gun from my ankle holster. Get away from the car, now! Alexei turned, startled for a moment before his expression turned into a cold smile. Ah, the heroine appeared. Unfortunately, you're late, Lieutenant Dawson. What are you doing? Let Nikita go. Nikita, visibly confused and scared, looked between me and his brother, his eyes widening when he saw the gun in my hand. Lizzie? What's going on? Why do you have a gun? Ask your brother, I replied without taking my eyes off Alex. Ask him about his plans to attack a Navy ship. What is she talking about, Alex? Nikita demanded, trying to open the car door but finding it locked. She's delusional, Alexei replied calmly, still smiling. Elizabeth isn't who you think she is, brother. She's a spy, sent to get close to our family and destroy us. This is crazy. Nikita shook her head in disbelief. Lizzie, what's going on? At that moment, I knew there was no hiding the truth anymore. My name is Elizabeth Dawson, and I'm a lieutenant in United States Naval Intelligence. I met you by chance, Nikita, that's true. But your brother is involved in a plot to attack an American ship, and now he's trying to use you as a shield. A full confession, Alexei. See, Nikita? She lied to you from the beginning. Meanwhile, I was just trying to protect our family. Taking your brother by force? That doesn't sound like protection to me, I countered. Stepping forward, it's over, Alexei. Your father has handed me all the evidence of his activities. You're on your own now. The mention of Mikhail made Alexei's smile falter. My father is a sentimental fool who doesn't see the big picture. And what would that painting be, exactly? I asked, trying to keep him talking while I assessed how to approach without putting Nikita in danger. Restore what was taken from us. Show that we're still relevant, that we still have power. Alexei. Composure began to crumble, revealing underlying anger and frustration. You don't understand what it's like to lose everything, to be forced to start over in a foreign country that secretly despises you. And attacking an American ship solves that. How exactly? I continued, noticing out of the corner of my eye that Mikhail had arrived in the garden, accompanied by two men I recognized as house security. It's just the beginning, Alexei replied, his voice now thick with fanaticism. A sign that we will not be ignored, that they cannot push us into the shadows. Nikita looked at his brother in horror. Are you crazy, Alexei? You're talking about killing people. Shut up, Alexei shouted, pulling out a gun and pointing it at me. You've always been the weak one, the naive one. You can't even see when you're being manipulated by an American spy. The situation was quickly escalating into a violent confrontation. He needed to disarm him before anyone got hurt, especially Nikita. Alexei, Mikhail called, his authoritative voice cutting through the tension in the— Put that gun down! Now! You betrayed me too, father. Alexei, his gaze splitting between me and— You handed over our operations to her. I handed over your operations, Mikhail corrected, approaching cautiously. Operations I never authorized, and that put our entire family at risk. As father and son argued, I noticed Nikita discreetly trying to unlock the car door. If he could get out, he'd be caught in the crossfire if the situation escalated. Nikita, stay where you are, I ordered, keeping my gun firmly pointed at Alexei's. But it was too late. Nikita had managed to open the door and was now getting out of the vehicle, placing himself between me and his brother. Enough! Both of you, put down your weapons. We're family, for God's sake. Get out of the way, Nikita, Alexei growled. This is bigger than you, bigger than all of us. No! Nikita refused to move. If you want to shoot her, you'll have to shoot me first. The world seemed to freeze in that moment. Nikita, the man I loved, was willing to risk his life to protect me, even after discovering I'd lied about who I really was. It was Mikhail who broke the impasse, stepping forward decisively and signaling to his bodyguards. Alexei, you are under arrest. Hand over your weapon now. You can't be serious. Alexei looked at his father in disbelief. I've never been so serious in my life. What you planned would not only destroy us, but start a war no one can win. It's over. For a tense moment, I thought Alexei was going to shoot anyway. His eyes swept over each of us, his father, his brother, me before finally lowering the gun. You'll regret this, father, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You all will. The security guards quickly disarmed and restrained him. Mikhail ordered him to be kept under surveillance in one of the rooms of the house. As Alexei was led inside, the garden fell into a heavy silence. Nikita stood between his father and me, his expression a mixture of confusion, betrayal, and pain. So double quotes he finally spoke, looking directly at me. Lieutenant Dawson of Naval Intelligence. It was all a lie? Not everything, I replied, finally lowering my gun. My name is really Elizabeth Dawson, and what I feel for you is real, Nikita. It was never part of any operation or mission, but you investigated me. You investigated my family. There was no denying it. Yes, after we became involved, I discovered some troubling connections involving your family. It was my duty to check it out. Your duty, he repeated bitterly. And when exactly did you plan to tell me the truth? Or was that also part of your duty to keep me in the dark while you used our relationship to spy on my family? Nikita, Mikhail interjected. She's not lying about her feelings. And if it weren't for her, your brother might have done something terrible today. Nikita looked at her father with equal bitterness. And you? How much did you know about all this? How much have you kept me in the dark all these years? Mikhail sighed deeply. Very much, I'm afraid. I've always wanted to protect you, to keep you away from the darker aspects of our business. Protect me, or use my ignorance as a convenient cover. Nikita shook her head. All these years, living a lie. And now I find out the woman I love is lying to me too. His words, the woman I love, pierced my heart with a mixture of hope and despair. Did he still love me, despite everything? Nikita, please. I took a step toward her. I was going to tell you everything, but how? How do you tell someone you love that your job is to hunt people like their brother? Maybe starting with the truth from the beginning, he replied, his eyes welling up. Trust, Lizzie. That's all I asked for. Before I could respond, we were interrupted by sirens in the distance. Apparently, someone had called not only an ambulance for Viktor Petrov, but also the police. We need to decide how to handle this, Mikhail said urgently. If the police find out what's really going on here, you already made your decision, father. When you gave her the evidence, Nikita pointed out, her voice thick with disappointment. Now, we all have to live with the consequences. I looked down at the small USB stick I still clutched tightly in my hand, the evidence that could send Alexei and his accomplices to prison, but could also destroy the Volkov family, and with it any chance of a future with Nikita. There is a way, he finally said, a way to expose only those directly involved in the conspiracy, sparing the rest of the family. but I will need your cooperation. What do you have in mind? He asked. You hand over Alexei and Victor. Provide full details of the planned operation and those involved. In return, I'll make sure you and the rest of your family stay out of this, provided you cut all ties to illegal activities from now on. Can you do this? Mikhail asked, skepticism in his voice. I have enough influence to ensure that the focus of the investigation remains solely on those directly involved in the attack plan, but it has to happen now, before other agencies take over the case. Mikhail thought for a moment, looking at his youngest son. Nikita deserves a chance to live without the shadow of the mistakes I made. I accept your terms. Nikita watched our negotiations silently, his face an impenetrable mask of emotions. When he finally spoke, his voice was surprisingly calm. What about us, Lizzie? What chance do we have after all this? It was the question I dreaded most because it had no clear answer. I don't know, Nikita. That's up to you. If there's still an us to save. The sirens were closer now. Decisions needed to be made quickly. I'll contact my superiors, I said, taking my phone. Mikhail, you'll need to turn off the signal jammers for me to do that. He nodded and quickly left to complete his task. It was just Nikita and I in the garden, the sound of sirens growing louder in the background. Do you know what the most painful part of all this is? He asked softly. I truly believed we had something special, something real, that you were the person I could build a life with, away from all the lies and secrets of my family. We can still have this, I replied, feeling tears welling up in my eyes. If you can forgive me, if we can start over with complete honesty, this time. Nikita looked at me for a long time, her eyes searching for something in mine. Trust, sincerity, true love beyond the lies. You kept your badge a secret from my family, he said finally. But when you entered our home, the truth entered with you. And now, nothing will be the same. The first police cars began to enter the property. The time for decisions was up. Nikita, I began, but he held up his hand to silence me. Not now. We have more pressing matters to attend to first. Then, then we'll see what's left to rebuild. It was an ambiguous answer, neither a definitive yes nor a definitive no. A space between forgiveness and goodbye, between a future together and the end of everything we had built. It was painful, but there was also hope in that space. A small chance that when the dust settled and the truths were fully revealed, we might still find a way back to each other. As I watched the police approaching, I placed my gun on the ground and picked up my badge. It was time to fully reveal who I was, to the authorities, to the Volkov family, and, most importantly, to Nikita. What would come next, only time would tell. But for the first time since I'd entered that house, there were no more secrets following me. Only the truth, raw and unforgiving, yet also liberating. And maybe, just maybe, that truth could be the foundation of something new and genuine between me and the man I, despite all the lies, truly loved. As the police approached, Nikita stood beside me, not touching, not speaking, just present. And in that moment, that was enough to give me hope.